I'm a firm believer that anyone can get into the tabletop gaming hobby at any price range. But there are some tools that make that process a lot easier, whereas others that don't make it so much easier. And so today, the one that I want to talk about, and is probably one of the big ones for anyone getting into this hobby, is brushes. Does the quality of your brush make that big of a difference when it comes to painting? Let's talk about it. So anyone in the hobby is familiar with these guys. The blue brushes. You see them at every hobby store that there is, and they're cheap. They're $4-5 for a pack of, 9-10 brushes. And so anyone who has even attempted to paint miniatures has seen these brushes. And maybe you bought them, maybe you didn't. When I first started this process, I thought this is exactly what I need. They're small brushes. They're for painting detail. They'll be perfect, right? Fast forward a few months and you're watching tutorials, you're watching all this stuff on how to paint, and people start talking about Kolinsky sable. They start talking about synthetic versus natural. And it kind of went over my head. So hopefully today we can talk about some of those differences and just kind of explain it to you in a way that is easy to understand. And you can decide if you want to buy these other brushes or stick to what you know. So first off, let's stick to these blue guys. These are synthetic brushes, and just what that means is that the bristles of the brush are not like natural hair. They're synthetic. They're made up. They're plastic, basically. Okay, and they're thin, and they're cheap, and they're easy to make, which is why they are always going to be cheap brushes. So, what's good about them? They're cheap. You can buy them. You can go through them. You can wash them. You can clean them. You can do whatever you want. You can be rough on them because at the end of the day, you can just go buy another set for $5. The good thing about these brushes is that one of the good things about these brushes is that you can paint pretty good detail with them. For the first year of my miniature painting experience, this was all that I had. This was all that I knew. And the downsides are, with time, the tip starts to get this nice little hook in it, which is kind of depressing, and it's kind of hard to paint with, especially when you want to do an eye. Instead of just nice putting it in there straight, you're kind of doing it nice and sideways just so you can get that nice little point in the eyeball. But it's doable. I mean, it's manageable. You can paint with these, and it's not that big of a deal. And I honestly thought, I'm going to keep this the most budget-friendly experience that I can, and I'm only going to use the cheapest paints, the cheapest brushes, and I'll make do. It's fine. But I learned something. I learned something after about a year of painting, and that is that, true to what I thought, it's doable. You'll see people painting, these incredible YouTubers that paint, and they'll do it with cheap things. I mean, Goobertown Hobbies, I think this is what he uses. I'm sure he has other brushes, but he talks about how he uses these most of the time. And it's doable. It really is doable, and you can get fantastic paint jobs. Now, I'm not saying I'm a fantastic painter. I try. But you can get fantastic paint jobs using just these brushes. So why should you buy the more expensive ones? During my 15-minute challenge, I was sent these Kolinsky sable brushes, from the fantastic people over at Chronicle RPGs, and they sent them to me, and I thought, I'm going to give this a try. I'm going to use these brushes. And at first, I didn't notice much of a difference. I mean, sure, the point stayed straight, instead of being crooked. And, at first I thought there wasn't much to it. They say that synthetic brushes won't hold as much as natural hair, and they're right. I didn't think that was really the case, but when you get your paints nice and wet, I just started noticing that I could paint for longer periods of time with the Kolinsky sable brushes. Now, Is that reason right there to spend, $20 a brush? Because Kolinsky sables get up there. Can be incredibly expensive. So the natural hair brushes, they stay straighter. They hold more liquid. What else do they do? Well, synthetic brushes, and this is stuff that I didn't notice until I had painted with these brushes for probably, 20 hours. But I started to realize that because it holds more paint, you can do finer detail because the tip of the brush stays wetter longer. And I know that's like a mouthful, but it's true, and so I was able to do better detail, finer detail. I did non-metallic metal. I did this night right here. And granted, the paints I'm using are not the best paints, but I was able to do better and finer detail than anything I've been able to do with a synthetic brush. And it was a combination of things. It was a combination of the bristles are softer, and so they bend more, which you would think would be harder, but it actually it lets things flow easier. Like, I honestly had never thought that the brushes were worth it. And to this point, to this day, I'm not sure that they are. For people, it's like buying a luxury car and then taking that luxury car everywhere you go, to the grocery store, when you have something that's nice like that, you should probably save it for special occasions, and obviously there's going to be people that don't think this way, but that's kind of the opinion that I've gotten to. It's nice for when you have to do that fine detail work, but when they cost as much as they do, base coats, right? Just zenithal primes, priming, things like that. If you're using a normal brush, use a synthetic brush. Use the cheap brush for everything that you can. Use it for 90% of the paint job, and then get out your really nice brush and do those last little bits of detail. And I think it'll be worth it for everybody. You can justify buying 1 or 2 paint brushes that you only use a little bit, that will last you for years because you don't use them for everything. Now, if you have the money, I say go ahead, go out there, buy it, do whatever you want. But if you're looking to stay cheap in this hobby, with paintbrushes especially, use your little blue guys. Use your synthetic brushes for, like I said, 90%, most of what you paint, and then pull out your Kolinsky sables for the details, for the finer things like that. You don't have to do that. But after painting for hours, those are the things that I notice. Those are the big differences. They're not as stiff, which allows them to flow better, allows them to hold that paint, allows you to do those details that you want to do the way that you want to do them. All the frustrations that I had with the synthetic brush, I just thought was, oh, it's just me. It's my fault. I'm a horrible painter. But then I came to realize that the truth was, I'm still a horrible painter, but a lot of that stuff was mitigated by using a better brush. And I can only imagine it's the same way with paints, right? I'm still using my cheap paints. One day I'll find a paint brand that I want to look into, that I want to try out, but I haven't gotten there yet. But when I do, I'll let you know. I'll let you know if that's better. And I'm curious, do you think there's a difference? Do you prefer synthetic to natural, or the other way around? And if you do, why? Like, I really want to know. Do you think that I'm just full of it? Because you totally can. I'm okay with that. But I want to know why. And if you found other things, point them out. Because maybe there's stuff that I'm missing. Granted, I've only been painting them with them for a few weeks now. But I really like them. And I think they're nice to have. But I don't think they're necessary. So if you want to get into this hobby, buy your cheap brushes, use them as long as you want. When you can afford a nice one, try it out. See if it's worth doing. Don't get a whole bunch of them. Get one brush and try it out. And if it's worth it, buy more. If not, just stick to what you're doing. You can get good in this hobby with any material. There's plenty of YouTubers out there that have posted videos about painting with the worst stuff versus the best. And so you can find that out for yourself. You can see those things. And as always, talent trumps equipment every single time. So the equipment isn't necessary, but it does make things easier. Anyway, that's what I found out. That's what I discovered. So If that interests you and you want to see more, we're painting, we're doing all sorts of stuff here at Pulsegate Games, and we'd love for you to stick around. So, like, subscribe. Stick around. Let us show you what we have to offer and how we can make your tabletop gaming experience a little bit better. And as always, don't spend so much time building your world, painting it, that you forget to spend some time in it. Until next time.